Hello and welcome to this week's Everyday Inclusion and Belonging, where we talk about everything under the sun that relates to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I am Mo Berkner-Boyd. I am a white woman with mid-length reddish hair. I'm wearing some red frames and an orange sweater, although they look kind of the same color. And behind me is my bookshelf with some of my favorite books. And I am super excited to have Jen Magley joining me, which is really interesting because we planned this a couple of months ago, and it was before this enormous wave of layoffs started happening. So our timing couldn't be better to have this conversation. Jen, please introduce yourself, and we're going to talk about everything that's happening with the layoffs, with recruiting, how folks from underrepresented groups can stand out, what employers should be thinking about right now. So Jen, delighted to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And so you described yourself and how you present and how you look. I'm an interracial, I guess, middle-aged woman now. I don't know if this counts. And if you're not able to see me, I have a very shaggy do and kind of a, I don't know, villain type outfit on right now, purple and green. It's giving some kind of Batman villain, the Joker perhaps. But in my full-time job, when I am not describing myself, I am a technical recruiter at Verity, which is a firm based out of New York City. I help data engineers, machine learning engineers, everyone in tech that's working hands-on in big data, land roles they love. So that's what I do full-time. And I'm fortunate to do a lot of speaking on professional development, personal branding, and I'm also a contributor to Forbes.com. So that's a little, oh yeah, I wrote a book. It came out, it's a super tiny book. It's a leadership fable called How to Be Queen. And it's short enough to be read over your lunch break, as long as a Cheesecake Factory menu, and as short as enough to be read over your lunch break. So that's a bit about me.
I love that. I love that. Well, you're at the epicenter of everything that's happening right now, particularly tech layoffs. So, there have been announcements from all the big tech firms and a lot of smaller ones. And we know from the research, Jen, that a lot of companies will take a last in, first out approach. And if that approach is being taken to layoffs, the people that tend to take the greatest hit are those from underrepresented, marginalized groups. So yes, diversity numbers could really take a dive right now if that's the criteria for how layoffs are happening, versus let's really look at contributions.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a challenging time. I have been laid off. I was one of the first that spoke about it publicly during the pandemic and had a post that went viral on LinkedIn. And I jokingly say for 15 minutes, I was the most famous woman in the Midwest for not having a job, which was never one of my life goals. But it led into me being a full-time recruiter and helping other people land jobs, land roles. So when we look at the landscape of what's happening with layoffs, yes, first in, first out, but it is so hard to get your foot in the door when you're not a person that looks like my dad or my husband, which is a Caucasian dude. It's hard to get your foot in the door. And so when this happens, I've noticed that sharing your need is the number one most important thing. And that doesn't necessarily have to be through a LinkedIn post like I did and others are doing. Sharing your need within your network, person to person individually, is most powerful. And asking this question, if you can remember anything, it's TOM. You want to ask them, Tom, to keep you top of mind. So when you reach out to your network and you're like, hey, unfortunately, I was laid off. I'm looking for, and you be very specific, the type of role that I'm interested in. Are you able to, Tom, keep me top of mind? So that's something that's going to help you land in your next role 100% over just applying constantly to these roles that are listed online.
So, and I wish, and maybe you can remember who did this research. It's the power of weak connections.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes we think that where we are going to find that next opportunity is within our inner circle. But what the research tells us is it tends to be those people that maybe we're connected to on LinkedIn that maybe we don't know very well. and that we reach out to them, or it's an introduction that was made through somebody in our inner circle. Those are the folks that tend to get us the next role.
That's 100% correct. It was CNBC published the report that came out, and it's the interesting statistic is 70% of roles that are out there, they're not listed online. And then there's an 80% chance that you're going to land in your role based on your weaker network. So that's why it's so important to ask literally every single person. They may not be in an industry that you're interested in. If you have the ability to reach out to them privately, you may land in that next role through those weaker connections. And as you said, it's not that first connection, it's the secondary connection. That's what we're calling weak. They may not show up to dinner with you, but they might help you get a new job. So,
right. I love that. I love thinking of it that way. And I think, so the thing that gives me hope about that is we know if you're from an underrepresented, marginalized group, that inner circle may be folks that are just like you. And we know that power is held in, right, Utah, right, Caucasian white dude. And so, but if that can happen, right, if they're a weak link, great, right? They're the ones that are most likely to get you that role. And so I think the proximity and some of the things that we talk about in terms of, old boys club, those things, it's actually, if you know the power of the weak links, we should call it something else, shouldn't we?
But it is weak. They're not gonna, I have a joke. Well, within my home, it's like, I'm not going to anyone's funeral that wouldn't come to my funeral, right?
Yeah.
So these are not people that are going to come to your funeral, but oddly, they can help you land in your next job. And one thing, Mo, that folks have going against them, and I found this, I wrote about it on Forbes.com, is a lot of people of color are not completing their LinkedIn profile. So a lot of times I found, even as a recruiter, I live on LinkedIn. It's on my Instagram. I live on LinkedIn all day long. Most often, if there's no profile photo, it means that this person is identifying outside of the profile of the hiring manager.
Yep.
And the bad thing about not putting the age of when you graduated from college, because you're afraid of age bias, right? You're afraid of age bias. You don't put your age of graduation. The problem with not uploading your profile photo because you want to get your foot in the door, changing your name so that the hiring manager can say it on LinkedIn. Once you get the job, you're saying your name is something else. All of that is fine. The issue is you're not showing up completely in the algorithm for hiring managers and technical recruiters of any kind. So LinkedIn has a huge favoritism towards completed profiles. So if you don't have a profile photo,
pause.
Yeah. Who knew, right?
So say that again.
LinkedIn rewards completed profiles. So if you have information that is not included, if you have not completed every single little box on your profile, if you haven't put an updated cover photo, if you don't have a profile photo, if you don't have the year you've graduated, you may not show up for recruiters that are looking for you. So the way to get around that, some people say, I don't want people to see my face. They will try to upload infographics, pictures of animals, landscape scenes to still show up within the search. So they're saying, I have a profile photo, it's just not me. LinkedIn says, you have 3 chances to upload a profile photo of your face. And if you don't, they will lock down your ability to even upload a profile photo. And that candidate has to start with a brand new LinkedIn profile if they want to have a profile photo. So this is something that is going against a lot of people that are in communities that are not empowered,
that understand the bias against them, right?
Oh, completely.
Whether conscious or unconscious, right? And so, so I hate that algorithm. I'll just put that right on out there, right? Because people understand that they might not even get the interview, right? They might not even have, so that's frustrating and right. And good to know.
Well, so I'm encouraging candidates, like, listen, if someone doesn't want to interview you because of your makeup of how you look, or your race, your ethnicity, or your aesthetic, whatever it is, maybe that's not the right company for you anyways.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying, we're as candidates, you're interviewing them as well. It's not just about, oh, I just want this job interview so bad. It's like, what right do they have to get to talk to you? I think it's a little
Yeah.
more,
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that's really right. I think that's particularly when you're newer in your career, that's so hard to remember.
oh, yeah.
And right, the reality is unconscious bias is real.
And
so
conscious bias is also
yeah. And so I think on the conscious side, I'm
Yeah.
100% with you, Jen, right? Like you don't want to work somewhere where they're like, yeah, we don't want somebody like her.
Mhm.
Interrupting the unconscious bias is really important. And so one of the things, there were some conversations that I've been having recently that I put it right up front. I say, I'm a woman, and I'm a woman over 50, and I am a woman over 50 who's a tech CEO.
Yes.
I know all the unconscious bias against me, and I call it out, because when you call it out, it actually can interrupt it. And so I think, right, if there's something that folks can do to say, even in their profile, somehow I wonder to say what the benefit is. I don't have a great answer for this, right? I wish I had a great answer.
It's very challenging. And then when you look at the folks that are getting laid off, that are here on work visas, imagine you've only got a handful of days to find a new employer, so your entire family at times can stay in the country that you are wanting to be in. And that status of being on an H-1B or OPT, it does remind me of the indentured days when people would come here and they would work. And I think it's problematic can you imagine you have an employer who knows that you need this job to stay in the country? Like, what is their life like? Are they going to file a complaint? Are they going to say no to projects that are after hours? I mean, it blows my mind what's going on right now, especially with the layoffs. So now they're without a job, and they may be without a home country. They've got to leave.
Okay, so let's talk then about, well, let's finish our conversation, this line of thought in terms of what candidates can do. And then I want to talk about employers and leaders.
Yeah.
So anything else, Jen, I had heard something, and I would love your feedback on this based on the algorithm. I had also heard, like, let's say you were one of the people that was just impacted and laid off from Google, that you should not put your last date, that you should leave it as to present, because when recruiters are searching for people from Google, you won't show up if it shows that they were a past employer of yours. Is that accurate?
So we've got a button on the recruiter user side of LinkedIn where we can say current or past employees. And we know that there's confusion around like what to do, because a lot of times you get laid off and then they'll say, but we'll keep paying you to the end of February. Well, technically, when am I still with this company? And if I want a new job now, what do I do? So as far as like open to work or saying your end date, either way, we will find you based on if we're looking for you for current and past. So you can rest assured with that. Okay. Some people feel comfortable putting the open to work green banner on their photos. I say, yes, I don't think there's anything to lose. The only thing, Mo, that stops people from putting the open to work banner is shame. A lot of people believe that the time clock starts, this timer starts, and their friends and their family, everybody's watching them, and they've got to find a job fast. Most people don't realize it takes 5 to 6 months on average to find your new job. And so they think, if I haven't landed someplace in 2 months, is everyone going to judge me that I haven't found a job yet? So I'll just wait on putting my open to work banner up till later. I say, go ahead, post it now, nothing to lose.
Okay. Because, right, those of you that do this work, you get it, right? You get, like, you're not concerned. You're not concerned if you see somebody that has had open to work up for 5 months, because you understand the recruiting, how long the recruiting cycle is. Anything else that candidates can do, right? So reach out to folks, Tom, top of mind, put that open to work, make sure make sure that your entire profile is complete.
Your profile is complete, whether you want to do it or not, if you really want to land that next role. And then I would say, consider booking your days up with video calls. And I know that seems a little kind of against the nature of finding a job, because we're always taught the old way of apply, apply, apply. But if you fill up your days with video calls with people in your network, you can ask them this crucial question: what can I do to support you? And it's not that you necessarily have all the answers. You may know someone. And when you ask someone that question, they may say, oh, can you buy 10 Girl Scout box of cookies for me? And you're like, well, yes, I'm happy to do that. Or they have a need that you may be able to meet through your personal network. You meet that need, or you say, I'll check on that. And then what will they do, Mo? They'll say, what can I do for you? So building that professional and personal collateral while you have the time is so powerful. And it may lead you down paths that are even more exciting than your new job.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's Robert Cialdini's work, right, on the science of persuasion.
Yes.
That reciprocity is real. So it might, right, you might just be buying Girl Scout cookies, but that person now really feels the need to help you back, right? And that help is in your search.
Yes.
Great. So let's talk about employers. Right, you mentioned the people that are, letting people go who are on visas, first in, first out. How can employers both be thinking about, if you are in the position of layoffs, how to do it with dignity and respect? And then if you are in the position of hiring right now, what you can be doing to stand out?
Absolutely. So dignity and respect when it comes down to layoffs, an example would not be, you've been working at a big company for over a decade and you come in to slide your card and it suddenly doesn't work. That's not the way to show the humanity. The best way that I've seen it done has been telling your team before the media tells them that there are going to be layoffs. And if possible, giving a cushion, a severance of some kind, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, which allows people the ability to process this work trauma that has just happened to them. Their lives have been turned upside down. So I would say the communication is key on telling folks what to do and when it's going to happen. Now, I've seen hiring managers who feel very indebted to their team do some incredible things. I've seen hiring managers create these Google spreadsheets where their team can put in their information, what they're looking for. And I find that to be the most helpful for companies that are wanting to move on from their people.
Guess what? We have some of those spreadsheets that have been shared with us, right?
Yes.
Where people have said, I have incredible people that I know that were just laid off. Here's who they are. Here's their roles. So now we have this talent bench that when we go to our next hire, you bet we're going to go there first.
Definitely. So that's some of the better behavior that I've seen. I think the stickier spots that we've had conversations about internally have been kind of the faux outrage of the person who's still working at the company, posting about how upset they are, but then, oh, I just missed. I think that's a harder thing to do if you're looking to support someone who's just being laid off. The outrage and you still have a job. Maybe it's better if you just promote your teammate and share their profile rather than just saying, I'm so upset. I escaped the cut, but I'm so upset. I'm not certain how to do that gracefully just yet for people. It's a little harder.
Yeah. Okay. So how, if you're in the position of hiring right now, because by the way, like in all of this, we know this is short term, right? We know that globally talent is aging. We know, right, that it will be an employee's market again soon. And people are keeping receipts, y'all, right? They're paying attention to how you are treating folks right now. They're paying attention in particular to how you are treating underrepresented and marginalized groups. And when you go to try and win the talent war again, good luck.
Mhm, mhm.
That's me being like blunt, Mo,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so bad behavior is being noted, and good behavior is too. Right, like those companies that are doing this with dignity and respect. And for those that are in the fortunate position of hiring right now, how can they stand out when and really demonstrate their commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging?
Yeah. I would say if you want to be a gold star and stand out as a hiring manager, keep paying people what they're targeting. So this is
Mm,
not the opportunity to, you know, come in low because you know you have so many people from Twitter and Uber and Google and Microsoft applying
yep.
for your roles that suddenly you're like, oh yeah, you used to make 325. We're going to set you back at 150 base. That now is not the time to add insult to injury. I
Mhm.
would say maybe you can't pay what they used to receive, but continue to come with your best offers because it's still insulting to be, I don't know what this may not be the politically correct term, but lowballed. I don't know what, I don't know
Well,
if lowballed is the term, but coming
well,
in with your lowest offer so that you can continue to have the highest margin is not ideal. I think that's equally insulting to people that are coming from bigger roles.
and I think, yeah, and this is where there's a tension
Mhm.
because a part of why these companies are having to do these layoffs is comp got out of control. Right? And so,
Yeah.
and now you have smaller companies, like we're a smaller company. We've never been able to compete on comp
Mm,
with the large companies because,
right.
right, like we don't get the tax breaks they get. We don't get the, and so I think that there is this tension between, I will lean heavily into what you were saying in terms of you pay absolutely
As you can. Yeah.
as you can, right?
I always say, come with your most competitive offer. And if someone asks for more, yeah, maybe it's more time off or it's better benefits or it's, hybrid when they don't want to be in the office, negotiate the other things. But it's always nice when a company says, this is our best offer. You ask for more and they say, this actually really was our best offer the first time.
Absolutely.
That's as a candidate, you feel great because your only job as a candidate is to say, is that the best you can do?
You know, what's interesting is at Moxie, what we do is we always post, here is what we can pay.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Because we know also the statistics around negotiation.
Hmm.
And so when we post that, we don't typically post a range. If we do, it's tiny. And like, for example, our last hire came back and said, I'm used to making this. And we looked and we said, he has a skill set that we have been having to outsource. If
Right.
we get rid of that outsource, we actually can pay him, right? So we were able to, right, but it's always that idea. We don't want people to come and have to negotiate because we know who loses in that. And we want to say this is what we've got, right? We are modeling our transparency from the start, that we value you. And so we're going to pay you because we value you. I think the other thing that is interesting, Jen, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this. So in Colorado, for example, we now have legislation that
Hmm.
you have to post
Right.
salary and salary range. I am so disappointed in some of the bad behavior that I'm seeing where people are putting a range from like 20,000 to 250,000. That, y'all, that's being a jerk. Knock it
So
off.
yeah, I saw that in New York when the law first came out. It's the 300,000 was the biggest gap that I saw of roles that are listed. And when it comes to tech, folks are staying in roles 18 months at a time. And the reason why they're doing that is because the only way they can get a pay jump is to go to another company. So I think that's something to keep in mind when looking at talent and retention and what kind of work culture you can create that celebrates everyone where people say it's not even about the money. When the money's right, it's never about the money. It's all about the people and the culture and the diversity that you've got. But yes, $300,000 difference of a range. Ugh.
Knock it off, y'all.
And it indicates that there's people at the company that are being underpaid. And that's why they're doing that. They're doing it because they know they've got people that have been in there 5, 6, 7 years that are going to be making so much less than the new person that comes in, and they don't want to have that equity correction. So they'll just say, well, slap on 300,000 and make everybody keep guessing.
So what is your piece of advice? So don't underpay folks, right? Just
But I'm a recruiter, so yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, right? Don't. Yes, there is a lot of great talent on the market. That doesn't mean that you should add insult to injury.
Right.
Pay what you can. Are there some other things in particular that demonstrate commitment to diversity and inclusion?
Oh, with the big companies, the dirtiest kind of secret that's out there are the DEI roles that are forever open at these large companies, and everybody is kind of elbowing each other in the DMs like, do you see this? It indicates that there's an issue. So I think that walking the walk is so much better than talking the talk. You can't really fool people in this social media age. So I think that the caution is just to be authentic in creating that culture, and also raising your hand and saying, we're not there. We're not there yet.
Yep.
And we're working on it. People appreciate that rather than everything's under control. We've got this under, just say we're working on it.
We're working on it. And you can be a part of building that future with us.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I so appreciate your approach to this work.
Oh, thank you.
Right. And I know so many people have landed in roles because of of your approach and the work that you do. You just offered great advice to both those that are seeking jobs and to employers. Leave me with one last truth bomb, Jen.
Yeah, one of my big guiding beliefs is that I am unstoppable when I know what I want and why. And I believe that it's a hopeful statement, but that's what we need right now in this climate, is a bit of hope, a bit of self-belief that I'm still here, which means I'm essentially unstoppable until my story's over. So that's the thing that I would leave you with, is just keep going.
And I appreciate that you shared with everyone, right? Typically, this is going to be a 5 to 6 month process, like chin up.
Yes.
Right. Ask your network, keep asking, keep offering to help. Tom, I love that. Top of mind. Complete that profile, every bit of it. And just know that those of you who have been impacted and affected, there are so many people that are in your corner rooting for you, that believe in you and your ability to land this next role. Keep asking for that help.
Everybody's not going to say no. Statistically speaking, it only takes one yes. One yes.
It only takes one yes. Awesome. Jen, thank you so much. Everybody, get out there, do the next right thing, and live every day inclusively. Cheers, y'all.